So what's the future look like? What's the next big con for Republicans? You want to know what the standard Republican playbook looks like, what the Mitch McConnells of the world are going to be pursuing instead of just the MAGA crazies. Listen to what Mike Pence wants to do. We've got a clip here from the Young Turks. Hey, you know I love me some TYT, babe. Anna Kasparian's recent debate with Ben Shapiro. Wonderful. Cenk Uygur, anytime he goes off, makes me a happy man. Love TYT. Here's a great example of why. This is them heckling the Jim Christ out of Mike Pence, and rightly so.
I was a part of it when George W. Bush proposed Social Security reform in 2005. The time has come for us to have the kind of leadership that says to everyone that's got hair the same color as me, nothing's going to change for you.
Already. Your old pal Jake's got to jump in. Listen to their rhetorical tricks there. We talk about dog whistling a lot. That right there, that was a dog whistle. He wants the people that aren't really paying attention to be like, okay, it's a later thing. But he wants the people that are his voters, and he knows it, that are going to be concerned I might personally suffer. He wants them to know, you'll be fine. This is your grandkids we're screwing over. This is your kids we're screwing over. But you'll be fine. In other words, he's going, listen, I know you've been selfish and you've been on this train because we're going to attack other people. And now it sounds like we're going to attack you. But don't worry, we're still going to be attacking other people. We're just expanding that group of who other people are to people who aren't able to collect this right now. That's what you translate that to. People that have hair like mine, white hair. He's saying, hey, folks my age, you'll be okay. Still vote for us. You're still only screwing over other people. Scumbag.
Yeah, but what about people with beautifully chemically altered hair like mine? What happens to me considering I pay into Social Security and should be entitled to those benefits later? He doesn't address that, shockingly. But let's hear more from Mike Pence, who wants to privatize Social Security.
To give younger Americans better choices that would also be better for the country, I think is an idea whose time has come. There's a way back. There are modest reforms in entitlements that can be done without disadvantaging anybody at the point of the need.
Doubt it.
And actually, I think the day could come when we can replace the New Deal with a better deal.
Hold on, Anna, if you don't mind me jumping in for a moment. Let me hear that one more time. Give me that good evil.
There's a way back. There are modest reforms.
Way back from what? Reforming what?
In entitlements that can.
Remember we talked about this, the language they use. What are entitlements? That is a word they have chosen that makes it politically acceptable. It sounds acceptable. It sounds like they are talking about going after, these darn kids, these entitled people. It sounds almost like they're going after rich people, doesn't it? These entitled people. They're going after Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. That's what they mean by entitlements. The things you are entitled to as an American citizen. That's what they mean. They're going after anything that allows some Americans to take care of other Americans. In other words, anything that resembles socialism in any way, such as Social Security, they will go after. If they say, let's leave him on that dumb-looking face because that's what I think of the guy. Let me just paint a picture for you. If they got all of these wins for the GOP and they got rid of anything helpful to Americans that they're talking about getting rid of now, the next thing they'd go after, they would try to find a way to privatize police, fire departments, the military. In fact, they are already privatizing the military. Betsy DeVos's scumbag brother Eric Prince owns Blackwater. Remember how many people I cite died as a result of George W. Bush's lie in the Middle East? 7,000 American soldiers plus 8,000 contractors during that war when it looked real bad, when we kept bringing back reports of how many Americans were killed. When we wanted to wash those numbers, we started relying on contractors a lot. Contractors just means privatized militaries. Death squads. 8,000 of those died. How many of those were Americans? They're pretty tight with their numbers. We aren't sure. Probably most. But we still have to say 7,000 American soldiers died because of the privatization of the military. They will try to do this with everything. They would like rich people to be the new lords of the land and us, to bow to them. They want us to be peasants in medieval times. Bear in mind, if we all got transported back to medieval times, we're suddenly in a medieval society. You and me, we're not the knights in shining armor. We will find there are no knights in shining armor. There are just, at best, well-paid henchmen who get to boss us around and be cruel and prima noctis and yada, yada, yada. That's what they are trying to convert America into. That's their plan. All right, I'm going to quit interrupting her. Anna goes off. You know I love when she gets angry.
The better deal is privatizing Social Security and having your retirement savings 100% tied to risk, meaning the stock market, because Social Security is really the only retirement program that guarantees income for people who have retired. And of course, big businesses, the wealthy, want to gut it. They want to privatize it because they don't want to pay taxes in order to keep it funded and well functioning. Now, go ahead, Cenk. This is what the Republican Party is. I just hope you guys understand that as they lie to you in your face and pretend like they're not looking to cut Social Security or privatize Social Security. They absolutely have been looking at doing so. They will continue persistently fighting to do so. This is who they are. Go ahead, Cenk.
You know I love Cenk Uygur. I will listen to him. I have listened to him in marathon sessions. But I must jump in. What she just said, that Social Security is a guaranteed income for some Americans. If you want to look at getting a universal guaranteed income, in other words, a universal basic income, we discussed a little bit about how you can do that. You can start a pilot program in your town by talking to your mayor or your city council. There are city council meetings in towns all over. It is a requirement that the public be allowed to attend in some manner. Go to these. If you have a big enough town, start a pilot program. But there's another way we can approach this problem. We can approach a solution to the problem of not having a UBI. We can expand Social Security instead of doing what Republicans have been doing and say, let's go older and older and older with it. Let's keep pushing that age up. Go the other way. As productivity goes up in America, we should be pushing the age where you are eligible for Social Security down. We should be saying, instead of having it start when it starts, let's put it at age 50 and pay for it by raising taxes appropriately on the people who have gotten the majority of the benefit of the production. As we have seen many times now, productivity in America has gone up. In fact, have a look at U.S. income by class. Who's been getting that productivity? Oh, well, now, would you look at that? Why, those in the upper income now get more benefit from that than the rest of us. So let's lower the age of Social Security and pay for it by taxing the rich. Just a thought. But if you're only going to take away one thing from this, remember she said the age of guaranteed income. Remember that phrase, guaranteed income. That is what the old folks are fighting so hard to protect. That is what people who are normally Republican voters really want to protect. That's what the rest of us want to protect as well, because it's a decent thing. You shouldn't have to work yourself straight into the grave. You should enjoy life in the United States. My God. So, guaranteed income is the phrase to remember. Guaranteed income. That is what we are searching for Americans. Cenk, hit us with the good Young Turk energy.
Yeah. The other thing that you get if you privatize Social Security is giant Wall Street fees. Trillions of dollars in fees that will go to the bankers in this country who donate generously to Mike Pence and other politicians. So
we were talking about why privatizing doesn't work as well. There it is. Jank, thank you for saying it quicker than Jake. So just think of it structurally. It very basically, if you have a government-run program, who is necessary there? You and the government. Rather, the taxpayer and the government. That's it. Yes, there are various staff along there, but if you privatize things like this, now who's necessary? You don't get rid of the government. Government still has to regulate it in some capacity, but you also have a bunch of other people. Now there's you, the government. Now there's the stockbrokers, and every time you add a group, remember, you got to pay for their car, their house, their kids' college, all of that. Now there's the stockbrokers. Now there's the people speculating off that stock as well. Now you have the insurance people, everybody who has to insure that, the investment in some capacity. You're also paying for all of that. This process has to make so much money, has to take in so much money that it pays for the lives of the people whose industry involves that piece of awful legislation. Privatizing is bad, generally speaking, for services that the public is reliant upon. Privatizing is fine for luxury goods. Privatizing is fine for all sorts of things. It's not fine for things like this, where the public needs something. That should not be private.
That's not a little thing. That's the mother lode. They've been looking to privatize it so they can get those fees for decades now. And so that's why George W. Bush tried it, and now here they come again. Now, guys, when you hear words like better choices, slight reform, make Social Security stronger, a better deal, those are all code words for we're gonna cut it, we're gonna slash it, okay? So remember we've talked about this before, whatever you would have gotten if you got to retire at 65, or these days for most of you 67, right? And you're gonna get Social Security that year, whatever the number is for you, you will not get it if the retirement age is 68. If it's 70, you won't get 3 years worth of payments that you put into. And of course, they're hoping that a lot of you don't get it, that you pass away before then. And that way, hey, we never had to pay you guys, even though you paid into it your whole lives, okay?
Absolutely disgraceful. So that is the goal of Republicans. We saw what the base they appeal to is. The base they appeal to are irrational. And they are, frankly, people more likely to become terrorists than anyone else in the United States. They are not people worth compromising with, because you'll have to dilute reality with whatever fiction they live alongside. We saw what a state looks like when it's run by the GOP. In other words, we saw an experiment in long-term GOP rule. The more we allow the GOP to be involved with America, the worse America does. It's that simple. Now we see nationally what they are looking to do. What are they looking to do? To cut the most popular program the United States has ever made. Let me repeat that. They are looking to cut the most popular program that has ever existed in the United States of America. They want to get rid of that. And I think you'll find, if you look around the world, conservative is just a code word for rich guy's henchman. That's all. When you get rich, funny what happens, you'll bribe anybody. A lot of what you seem to care about suddenly comes down to who's going to regulate in such a way that you are going to make more money. They got the gold sickness. What can you do about it? This one's a layup, folks. Doesn't matter if you're in a red state, doesn't matter if you're in a blue state. In fact, it's an advantage if your district is cherry red, baby. Contact your representative. Tell them you do not want to hear any talk. No talk at all about cutting Social Security. Tell them it is a poison pill for you. Tell them that if they vote or support in any way the cutting of Social Security, you will not, underline this, will not be voting for them in the primaries, and you certainly will not be voting for them in the general election. Contact link in the description. Let me tell you, a handful of people saying that to a representative will affect how they approach the issue, especially if you live in a red district. Oh my gosh. That's why they're using this language, and they're hoping they can use this language and get away with saying this stuff. They're thinking right now it's 2 years before I'm going to have to run, or rather it's a year before I have to run, 2 years before the election. I can get away with cutting this now and pretending like it was something else. And when things go awry with this, I can blame it on Democrats somehow. I'll wait for them to say one thing. I'll wait for them to do one minor change to the bill, such as renaming it slightly. And then I will blame everything on them. Everything that goes wrong, I'll say was their fault. They are not going to try this nonsense if you contact them and say, I see what you're doing. I don't like it. Right now, a handful of people in the United States can change the politics the country is talking about, can change the outcome of this. You can affect the upcoming debt ceiling fight massively. If they stop trying to make cuts to Social Security part of their negotiation that they shouldn't even be having in the first place, well, that's another topic of conversation, part of their fight on the debt ceiling becomes a lot easier. Contact your representative. Tell them you do not want to hear them in any way attacking Social Security.